The unofficial motto of the Texas Military Forces Museum is the best kept secret in Texas. And that's because many people don't know we're here. Even people who have worked on Camp Mabry for years don't know we're here. But we're trying our very best to change that. This museum actually started with General Scribner and a room full of stuff, if you will. Major General Jake Dennis tasked General Scribner to start a museum to capture and perpetuate the history, the artifacts, the memorabilia of the Texas military forces. General Wilson, William C. Wilson, without any hesitation declared that Building 6 would be the home of the museum. At any rate, General Scribner, with a handful of volunteers, Carl Dyckman namely, started converting the museum from what it was then to what you now see today, a 45,000 foot showcase. When I came on board, General Scribner tasked me to bring change. He wanted to see some improvements to the museum. We have 60 some odd volunteers that do everything from vehicle maintenance to our librarian is a volunteer, and collectively we put our heads together and we're trying to come up with many new ideas for the museum, new exhibits, and we're expecting a new diorama. We have many dioramas. The last one that is expected to come in the October time frame is a diorama depicting the last battle of the Civil War, which was the battle at Palmetto Ranch in far south Texas.
We have 5 of these dioramas that were put together by school children in Gilbert, Arizona. Their teachers are history buffs, and they're very interested in history. The children get these little figurines that you see here. They mold them in the shape that they want them, hand paint them, and then put them in the historical context. What you have here is a diorama of the Alamo on March 6th, about 7 o'clock in the morning in 1836. After a 13-day siege, Santa Anna's finally breached the north wall of the Alamo using 2 12-pounder cannon. He's also using scaling walls on the west side of the Alamo to come over the walls with. 185 Texans were defending the interior portion of the Alamo. They were under the co-command of William Barrett Travis and Jim Bowie. You also will see Davy Crockett and his 30 volunteers defending the palisaded area close to the Alamo Chapel, which he considered the weakest part of the Alamo. The Mexican soldiers, totaling about 5,000, are pouring through the walls. Now, they are in different uniforms, which represents individual regiments of the Mexican Army. On the north side of the Alamo, Santa Anna and his staff stood watching what was going on.
We're probably one of the few states that has what we call a muster day. Of course, in the old days, a muster day was when the local commander would muster all of the able-bodied men and count their heads, make sure that they were properly armed and clothed, so that in the event of an emergency they could be called upon. And then sometime around 1976, I believe, General Bishop, the Adjutant General for Texas, reinstated muster day. And since that time, it has evolved into what I consider or call a kind of a military fair. We invite the public. We have demonstrations of various kinds, and it's a fun day. The kids come out, they get to crawl around on the equipment. We have food vendors, you can eat your heart out, and just have a good all-around time. It lasts 2 days. This past year we had the horse detachment from the 1st Cav Division at Fort Hood. Did an outstanding display of horsemanship.
This drill is the wagon wheel, where the riders and mounts perform a wheelie movement in unison. Coming out of the wagon wheel, the detachment will turn into a column of 2s in preparation for the next drill. If you like what you see, folks, give them a hand.
it was an all-encompassing event, but we had the stuff going on outside, the parade and the vehicles and the demonstrations, but inside the museum itself were a number of activities. We had a field mess operation demonstration. Brian actually cooked meals and served it, gave people a sample of the meals of the period.
That are about appropriate for the time period. Oh, this is eggs. Oh my goodness. Well, I promised that I would try it, but let's look at what it looks like. This is hot, and looks like it's got tomatoes in it. Well, I'm not going to get sick and die. If any of you parents would like me to get some forks for your kids, I'll be glad to let them sample. Just grab something and try it. I had never had that menu before, so that's pretty unusual. What's it taste like? I don't know what it tastes. It's got kind of a spicy taste to it when it gets to the back of your throat, doesn't it?
Potatoes.
Our marksmanship team ran away with the honors at last year's Winston P. Wilson matches in Arkansas. But Colonel Don Trice and some of his guys had many of the weapons on display where people could physically come up and touch them, feel them, and see, learn about them. And that's what we're all about, is learning. We have an excellent research library which is open to the public with books dating back, before the Civil War. We have all of the Order of Battle books for the Civil War, up through current day Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. So we're doing, as I said, I've used the word collectively, but as a team we're putting our heads together and coming up with new ideas, new ways to improve the museum. One of the worst things that can happen to a museum is to become stagnant, and we don't want that. So that's why we want to rotate our displays, add new displays, and primarily our focus is to train our soldiers, our veterans, and their families on what the Texas military has done for this state and the country and what we can do in the future.